Now let's move on to the discussion regarding that thing that is written here, which you can see function. Function name is substring. It is getting two parameters, not only two but three. The first parameter is a string value, which is given the name myString. The second parameter is start, which is integer in nature. And as the name implies, it is going to store the start of your value. And length is the how many characters do you want to print or do you want to get. So then it's returning a string value definitely because the substring job is to pick up certain number of characters. So that is why its return type should be a string value. It can't be an integer or any other value. Now we can see if length of my string is greater than or equal to length plus start, then return mid my string comma start comma length is. And if you can recall, the mid function is to pick up any number of characters from the middle. And like if I just say left, always picks up from left, right always from right. But on the contrary, mid is being used quite extensively in our whole pseudocode writing as well. That is meant to pick up a certain number of characters from anywhere in the middle. So that is what is the mid function doing. Now, if I just have if length, and by the way, length is also a length and mid. These both are my library routines, ready-made routines that are available, and I am only going to use them. The way we have talked about mid, similarly, length will be how many characters are there in the string. So you can see length of my string is greater than or equal to length plus start. Then it means it is possible to return a value that it will be returned with mid, else return quotations. That is called a null string. So by the way, the word null string means that it's empty string. Sometimes we do call it empty string. So it says a null string. And if and then end function. So you can see this is what is being mentioned here, that it is always better to keep it very simple. But if there are some circumstances that I have to return, then I will be using it very cautiously. I don't have to just make any mistake here. Now functions, the same question. By the way, the one that was dealing earlier, the same is now being used with as function. Function name is Celsius. It's getting one parameter temperature, which is real in nature, and returning the real value. After calculations are being done, you can see here return temperature minus 32 upon 1.8. The calculations are being done, and the keyword return. Here it is returns, here it is return. And how will we call it is going to be something different. So you can see this is what is the basic thing, the word keyword function ka naam, then the parameter, then returns, and then the data type. And inside you're going to have return, and then you can mention the calculation, and then it is will be called in this manner. You can see my temp equals to Celsius, my temp. So it is going to actually result in selecting the data from here to here, performing the calculation, and then the result will be moving back to this my temp. The way we talked about length, the way we talked about mid, or even int or div or whichever function that we have done till now, they all are actually doing in the same manner. We are getting the results written in a variable, and then those variables are being printed or moved in any any sort of calculations. But this is how we actually call. There's no word call here, but this is very important that we need to remember. One difference is whenever we are calling the procedures, we use the word call. And the function definition, the procedure definition does not use a keyword returns. But when I talk about functions always use a keyword returns. It is never ever, if missing from here, that will be a mistake in my work. And then whenever we are calling the function, we are calling it in this type.
Miss, why is real written two times?
Real is not returned two times.
No, I mean, why is it written two times?
See, one thing it's telling that this is the temperature that is real in nature, and second time it's saying that return value is also real in nature. So then you have to mention. So just remember, when we say returns, after returns we always mention the data type, never the value. Values are returned later. So just remember the sequence: returns and data type. This is very important. It is always returns and data type. Fine. So here you will mention returns real or return string or returns char or returns whatever returns is. So we always mention the keyword returns and then the data type. Clear? Any issues? When procedures and functions define, the first statement in the definition is a header. Now this is what we need to know whether you are talking about the programming language, whether you are talking about pseudocode. So the first line that we have talked about, this is called the header. Function, substring, my string, string, start integer, length integer, return string. So this whole line is called the header. So this one is again something that I need to know, and it contains the name of the procedure or function, any parameter passed to the procedure or function, the type of the return value. So these three things together make up a header. So we may get a question that deals with, okay, what is a header? Although the chances are very rare, but maybe they can ask us, okay, what are the three components of header? So we need to know the name of the procedure or function, the parameters passed on to it, and the type of the return value. So these are going to determine the whole complete header. When procedure functions are called, the parameters or arguments, the values passed to the procedure function must be in the same order as the parameter. Now, this is what we have to be very cautious about. If I say my first parameter is string, my second parameter is integer, and the third is real, so it should be exactly in the same order. It should never ever change. Otherwise, the procedure function may not execute. It will give you an error. It will say, okay, it's not matching. So that is why this is very important. Very cautious you should be whenever you are passing on the parameters. The sequence is to be also taken into account. थोड़ा सा भी गड़बड़ की आपका काम जो है वो गलत हो जाएगा. Then another thing is must use the same time as the parameter given. Procedure calls are single standalone statements, and function calls form part of an expression on the right hand side. Now this is also one more difference that they have talked about, that procedure is simple, the keyword call is being used there. But when it comes to the function, then it is going to be always on the left hand side. You are going to write down the variable, and then on the right hand side it's the call that you are making it can be an expression, and that is what we will learn with a little bit of the practice. So I hope that we are clear about this.